All right. Hey, guys, can you hear me? I'm sorry that my voice is like a little deeper and sexier than it normally is, but I was at one of those parties last night where you feel like you're talking to your friends, and it turns out that you're actually screaming at them to be heard, and it's not recovering well, so I apologize for that. But welcome. Please come on in and join us, but we should get started because we've got just 45 minutes, not a lot of time. You're here for the tips and tricks for the Visual C# IDE. Okay? So I'm assuming we've got in here a lot of C# developers. Would that be an accurate assessment? But there's, okay, yeah. Proud C# developer. So you're probably a little confused by my job title. Right? I'm the VB IDE program manager. But that's actually kind of a new job for me. There's a couple of reasons why I am here to give this talk to you guys. And that's the first reason is before I came to Microsoft, I was a C# MVP for a number of years. And so I am kind of a C# guy myself. And another reality is that in Visual Studio, in the Visual Studio languages team, the VB and C# teams are really, really close. Right? It's not uncommon that the same team will develop a feature for both languages these days. Right? It's really, really tight-knit and integrated. So I work in C# almost as much as I work in VB these days. So that's two reasons why I should be up here talking to you guys. There's one other reason, and I'll kind of save that for just a little bit. But what we're going to talk about today, if I can get this little guy to work. If I can't, there we go. We're going to talk about today is basically this developer landscape. Okay, and these are the activities that we go through as developers every day when we're editing code, right? This is about being focused on the editor, right? As we have like some terms we pass around at Microsoft. We call it kind of a buzzword. We call it code-focused developer, right? The guy that's living in the editor like 60% to 80% of his day. And so these kind of activities like understanding code is an important activity, right? So to be able to analyze relationships between classes, to be able to determine like what APIs a class might actually have on it or implement, that sort of thing. Navigating code, which has three parts, right? It has the ability to navigate to some place that I know where I want to go. The ability to navigate when I'm not really sure where it's at, and then just kind of the ability to keep track of where I'm at in my project and in my code. And then modifying code, it's different from writing code, right? So that's code that already exists, and we want to maybe reshape it, make it readable, refactor it a little bit, or just fix bugs, that sort of thing. So tools to help modify code, and then writing code, so like code generation tools, that sort of thing, to actually help you write code as efficiently as possible. Also debugging, which I'm not going to have time to talk about because we've only got 45 minutes, and so I'm not going to be able to get in there. And there's also, there's a sixth category that I should put up here, and I didn't put it up here because I wasn't going to talk about that either, but testing, right? So unit testing and the activities that go along with that. So Visual Studio provides tools for all of these to make you efficient and productive. We're going to talk about a few of those tools. We're also going to talk about some of the tools that are available, especially in like Service Pack 1 that came out recently for Visual Studio 2008. I'm going to be working exclusively in Visual Studio 2008 today with Service Pack 1 installed. So, but we'll try and highlight things as being, this is in 2005 or 2008, depending on what you might be working in. There's one other thing I'm here to do today, and that's to make an announcement. Microsoft is partnering with DevExpress to release a free tool for you guys to download called CodeRush Express, which features more tools for these kind of code-focused activities, understanding, navigating, modifying, writing code. Okay? So this was up on MSDN today. It just went live at 9 a.m. And so I will show some of these bits as I'm going through. We'll see a couple of bits from CodeRush Express and see why that might be interesting to download and get some great help and productivity enhancement for free. Okay? So this also brings up the other reason why it's appropriate for me to be up here. So before I came to Microsoft, I was at DevExpress, right? So it's like I'm coming full circle. I worked on the CodeRush and Refactor products, those teams, for about 5 years, and it is like a blessing to be here today and to announce this. This is very exciting for me personally, and it's really exciting for the partnership and for a tool for you guys to use. So, and just kind of give you kind of a hello, there we go. Kind of an idea of what this tool's got in it. It's got a lot of features, right? Hopefully you can. Maybe I should have made it really small so it looked really cooler, like you couldn't read it. But so just a whole bunch of things for editing code, some TDD kinds of features for doing test-driven development, navigation features, refactorings, and there's more stuff. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff in this tool, a lot of value for you guys to download and enjoy. So now the flow, as we get going here, the flow of what we're going to do is I'm going to do like big demos, all right? But I'm going to be showing shortcuts, and it's going to be kind of, you guys aren't going to be able to remember the shortcuts, right? So after we're done with a demo, we'll go back and we'll do a review slide and kind of just list the shortcuts and what we talked about. And, you know, I'm not infallible. I will probably forget a shortcut or two. So that'll kind of give me the hint to go back and show you guys some things. Now, my goal today really is to have you guys leave with at least like one new shortcut that you're like, oh my gosh, I need to use that all the time. I wish I had known that a long time ago. And some of these are not discoverable at all. I'm expecting that there'll be plenty of shortcuts for you guys to go, oh, well, that's not very obvious. But I'm glad you showed it to me, Dustin, right? So also down here, the key, when we do the review slide, it will highlight whether it was a 2008 feature, whether it was a 2008 Service Pack 1, because Service Pack 1 turns out it's not just a bag of bug fixes. It's got a lot of really awesome features we added, especially for C#. Whether it's an out-of-the-box, like an add-in, and then also if it's part of the CodeBrush Express add-in. So I'll kind of mark those out as we go. Not sure where I'm supposed to be pointing this thing. All right. Well, let's get rolling with some code. Now, first of all, like I said, I'm using Visual C# 2008. I'm also using the Visual C# development settings. So when you set up your profile at the very beginning, I'm using the Visual C# settings, which are different from a lot of the other, like the general programming profile and those kinds of things. But they have, we also provide like a poster you can download with all these shortcuts available. I use this profile mainly because it's got some very logical organization to the keyboard shortcuts. So like if I go to the view menu, you can see here that all of these start with like Control-W for Windows and that sort of thing, right? So there's kind of a lot of cohesion in these keyboard shortcuts, but that's what I'll be using today. So some of the shortcuts might vary depending on if you guys are using like the general profile or the VB profile, you know, so your mileage may vary. All right. So digging in, I've got a project here. It's a WPF app. I just grabbed it off Codeplex called Molecule Viewer. I just run it, kind of give you guys a sense of what this does. It's kind of cool. It's a really cool app. I think it really kind of showcases WPF. So I open up a molecule file, and it'll visualize it for me and give me a way that I can actually interact with it, right? And I can change color schemes. I can make it like the Fiesta molecule, right? Pretty cool. So, but it's just a great project for this kind of demo because it's got a lot of code. It's got a large object hierarchy, and kind of get some traction on this object hierarchy. There are some class diagrams in here. Now, class diagrams we introduced in Visual Studio 2005, and there's two of them here. There's a rendering class diagram, and down here is a UI class diagram. Let's double click on the rendering class diagram, and it kind of gives us an overview of the classes in this file, in this project rather. Kind of giving us a sense of the relationships between these classes, what properties relate to what other types. I can interact with it. I can double click on it and use it to navigate, right? But one thing is also it's not really well known is that this class diagram is also it's live updating. Okay, it's live to your code. Let me take a drink here. I'm going to go into a coughing fit. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. So we can delete this, and it updates automatically. Undo, and it updates automatically. So it's live to your code. It's a live view of the code that you have here. And it's really useful for just kind of getting an overview of code. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, sick today. So, okay. Now, let's move around through this code. One of the shortcuts that I use all the time is go to definition, and that's just F12. Okay, so if I'm on an identifier and I want to go to wherever that identifier is declared, just press F12, and it takes you there, right? Pressing F12, just kind of browsing around. Interesting thing about this also, if I come down here, say and I've got something that's actually not in my project, right? So this is system.io.stream, which is not in my project. So if I press F12 there, it still works, right? It gives me sort of a C#-like view of the stream class. Okay, but you notice up there at the very top, it says it's from metadata. So we've kind of generated this kind of view into this class, and you can use it to get an overview of what the stream class actually looks like, what members are available on it, what are virtual, abstract, that sort of thing. So this is an awesome feature for kind of getting a sense of the framework and the classes that I'm using and things that I don't have source code to. Another feature that goes along with this is the code definition window. And this, if I just bring it up and move through my code, it automatically updates to show me, and again, using metadata as source, it'll show me declarations as I move through the code. So if I come up here and move through, click on ribbon here, it'll show me the ribbon class. And you can, take this, dock it, put it on another monitor. And it's super useful to just kind of get a view of everything that's going on around you. So I've been using go to definition. Let me close this guy. I've been using go to definition, and one of the features that's really not very discoverable, but it's one that I use a lot, and it's this idea of that go to definition actually has a navigation stack associated with it. We actually keep track of all of the go to definitions that you do, and there's a couple of shortcuts you can use to navigate through that stack. And it's similar to the navigation stack that already exists right here. Right, you have this navigate backwards, and it'll allow you to navigate through points that you've gone to in your code, and you can use shortcuts Control minus and Control Shift minus to go through that. But Control Shift 8 and Control Shift 7 actually will navigate through the go to definition stack. So the places that I've used go to definition, like F12 here, and then I can use Control Shift 8 to go right back. Okay, so it's really useful for when you do want to use go to definition, but you want to get right back, and it's like, I don't want to use go to definition. I feel like I don't want to use go to definition because I'm not able to get back to where I was, right? Control Shift 8 will take you right back to it. So the opposite of go to definition is find all references. So the ability to find every reference to a method or a type. And again, in the C# profile, again, we're using, there's some kind of symmetry to the shortcut. So if go to definition is F12, then find all references is Shift F12. Okay? And it shows me all the references to initialize in this project really quickly. And here's the one, here's the bang for your buck right now. This is a shortcut that is not advertised really anywhere, but it's one of my favorite shortcuts in the IDE. It's the ability to navigate a list window. Any list window that you happen to have, you can navigate it just by pressing F8. And so as I navigate it, it'll take me to the places in my source code where those are. That's a sweet shortcut. So if you remember one, F8, that's one to remember. All right. So now, sometimes in my project, I've got a really large project here, and it's hard to keep track of where I'm at, especially in the Solution Explorer. One little option here that I tend to check a lot is on the Projects and Solutions. In the Tools and Options dialog, in the Projects and Solutions, there on the General page, there's this Track Active Item in Solution Explorer. If I check this, it will, if you can see up here, it will keep track of which, it'll highlight which item I move to, whichever file I move to. So if I move around my source code, it'll keep the Solution Explorer in sync with my code so that I can see where I'm at. Okay, so this is especially useful. I mean, you might ask, why would I want to use this in this kind of project? But if I have, like solution folders and multiple projects nested all over the place, this is a huge bonus, right, for getting around. Another tool, which is a add-in, actually, you can grab it from Codeplex, Source Code Outliner. It's a power toy that you can download and install, and it appears on the View menu when you install it. It appears on the View menu. Where is it? It's right down here, Source Code Outliner Power Toy. If I open that, it'll show me a view of my code. And again, this is something that syncs with my caret. So as I move around, it's updating on the left side. It's updating to show me exactly where I am at in my code. I can use this to select pieces, or I can even filter. Right? I can say, hey. So. It doesn't do substring filtering, unfortunately. This is like the weakness for me for this source code outliner, but it's on Codeplex, so it's up to you guys to fix that for me. That would be awesome. But that's a great tool, all right, to go download. Now, a couple of the CodeRush Express features I want to kind of show here about navigation. One of the features they gave us was a way to do fuzzier navigation, right? So a go to file, which is Control-Alt-F, and that should bring up a dialog which gives us all the files in the project, actually in the whole solution, and I can type, and it will do substring matches. Okay. In fact, it'll do. I think it'll do camel case matches as well, right? So if I type capital letters, it'll match the camel casing letters that it finds. So this is a sweet tool for being able to just navigate very quickly. So I can just bring it up and type what I want and go. So now another part of this feature is go to symbol, right? So instead of going to just files, we're going to any kind of symbol that might be throughout these files. So Control-Shift-Q brings up a dialog that has everything. It's huge, right? It has everything. But this is especially useful, right? So if I remember that, oh gosh, I don't remember exactly the name of the method. I remember it had the word, create in it or something like that. And I can quickly go to those and see what I'm looking for. And in fact, and this is kind of a little bonus thing, if you hold Control, it'll actually highlight the piece I'm looking for, right? Which is kind of nifty. So that kind of thing. So just holding the Control key will do that. So that's something the CodeRush guys have given us, and it's an awesome value add for the product. One other piece they've kind of lent us, I suppose, is a highlight usages. So like if I have some identifier and I just want to see where it's used, I can press Control-Alt-U, and I can see exactly where that's at. I can use the Tab key as well to navigate between them. Okay. In fact, they even went so far as if I just happen to be on an identifier and I want to see where it's used, I can just press the Tab key, right, and just dive right in and go for it. So this is a sweet feature for just kind of seeing, where things are used and what I might want to do to maybe navigate through a method, or maybe find some piece that I want to refactor or pull out later. All right. So let me flip back to slides real quick, just to give us kind of a review of what we showed. All right. So we looked at the class designer. Now that's a Visual Studio 2005 feature. Actually, the majority of these are Visual Studio 2005 features. So if you're not on Visual Studio 2008 yet, you've already got the features. All right, so you're in luck. We looked at go to definition. That was F12. So F12 is like your friend, because the antithesis down here, the opposite, is find all references. Shift F12. Control-Shift-7, Control-Shift-8 for the go to definition stack, and that is very undiscoverable. Okay, so I would, those are good ones to remember. They're very useful. Metadata source, code definition window. Iterating list windows with F8. That's awesome. Oh, and I forgot one. I'm glad that's why I put this review slide here. This is another killer shortcut. This is one that again, I use all the time, and it's not as discoverable as I'd like it to be. So Control-Tab. Everybody's familiar with this dialog, right? You've run into this thing. Who has run into this thing? Oh, sorry, guys. Thanks. So who's familiar with this thing? Control-Tab, this dialog, yeah? Who likes this dialog? I see one guy shaking his head. It's a little confusing. It's a little cumbersome to even see what order these are in. So my tip to you today is Control-Alt-Down. And that brings up this window. And I can just even start typing the name of the method, or of the file, and hit enter and go to it. So my hands don't need to leave the keyboard. Just Control-Alt down, and I can go through the open files that I have. Okay? So that's one I forgot. Let me flip back again. And then the code rush features we showed. Go to File, go to Symbol, highlight Usages, and tab to Next Reference, which kind of goes along with that. Just the ability to tab right in when we want to see where an identifier is used. The Source Code Outliner, which is a Codeplex tool to download, right? And the Track Active File and Solution Explorer. Just go check that. Just open up your laptops and check it. You'll thank me later. So, all right. Writing and modifying code. So I'm going to, let's just close some of this down, and switch over to my solution configuration for writing and modifying. Not a lot of people use this, but I have some custom solution configurations in here where I just, I chose to say, hey, I don't want to build my first project when I only want to build the second project when I'm working on the second project. So just kind of a way that I can keep, keep from building things that I don't want to build, and we'll set this as the startup project. Now, the first feature I'm going to show you guys, and I have to admit, I'm a little embarrassed to show this because, it's those features that you feel like, they're features. They are features. They are new features, but really they feel like bug fixes. Like it should have worked this way in the first place. And this is one of those. So this is part of Visual Studio 2008 Service Pack 1. Your to-do list items, your task list items, are solution-wide. Now, they weren't in the past, and so it always felt kind of kludgy, but now it works as expected and as advertised. So I've got a task list here, task list item here to write some code. And I'm going to use some code snippets here to build some code up really quickly. How many people use code snippets? That's a fair number. I was expecting less, actually, because I didn't really use them. I felt like I could type it faster myself for a long time. I was wrong. I couldn't type it faster myself. But code snippets, I'm just going to I'm going to create a new class. I'm going to type the word class. And to insert a snippet is double tab. The reason for that is that the first tab actually will accept the item from IntelliSense, and the second tab actually inserts the snippet. So double tab. I'll type the name of my class and press enter, and I'm ready to go. Okay, I'm going to put a static void main method in here. That's SVM. Double tab, and I'm ready to go. Okay, so this is code snippets are a really great way to build up code very quickly. We have some in the box, but it's really easy to create your own. In fact, I've created my own for this. I have some code because this demo, what we're going to do is we're going to download some data from a popular online role-playing game that I will not mention, but the Alliance and the Horde are involved. And I created my own snippet to kind of do the downloading part. And to do this, though, I've got to use the Insert Snippet UI. And it's not a very discoverable thing, again. But the Insert Snippet UI, if you press Control-K-X, so one of these chords where you hold Control key and then a couple of keys, and it brings up this Snippet UI. And you see down here we have the Visual C# snippets, and these are the same things that appear in IntelliSense. But also we have Office development snippets, for doing all sorts of things. Dependency properties, if you're doing WPF and you know the pain of writing a dependency property, we have snippets for doing this. So I'm just using Tab and Shift Tab to kind of navigate through these. But in my code snippets, I've got my snippet, right? So this is my magic code for this demo. All right. So getting in, I'm going to, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to declare a new variable. We're going to call it name. And need a good name. Like Anders. That works, right? This is a C# crowd, right? We'll go with Anders. And then I'm going to, so it's going to return to me some XML. So I'm going to, using the system the XML link stuff, I'm going to create a variable type X element, call it XML, and we'll set it equal to a method. It doesn't exist yet, but we'll pass in that local variable. Now, one of the things that you should be noticing here, if you're using Visual Studio 2008 and you haven't installed the service pack, is that we have background squiggles background compilation squiggles live at design time, and I haven't pressed build. Okay, so this is something that we added in Service Pack 1. Another reason to go download it right now if you haven't. But the idea that we're doing background compilation and showing you the errors as you type. Now, it's not full background compilation. It only works within method bodies and field initializers, but it's a great feature, right? So I can come down here and you can mouse over and see exactly what's going on there. Now, if I put the caret on that identifier, it shows me that there's actually a smart tag there. It's kind of hard to see, right? But it's right here. There's a little smart tag. And now if I hover over that smart tag, and here's one of the unfortunate things that I feel about the shortcuts in Visual Studio. What shortcut does it show me to be able to invoke a smart tag? Shift Alt F10. That's like, what? Right? That's kind of weird, right? I don't want to have to press that all the time. It works, but it's not the best shortcut. And maybe not as obvious because it's not in the hint, but Control Dot is your friend for smart tags, okay? So press Control Dot, and that always brings up a smart tag. So there's one for you guys to take back with you and go, oh, thank goodness it doesn't show me Control Dot, right? So we'll go ahead and insert the namespace for that, and then we can come over here, again, Control Dot, and generate a method stub. Okay? Now, at the moment, it's throwing a not implemented exception, and I want to actually put some code in here. So I need to grab this bit and delete it. So my first instinct is probably to go to the mouse and select it, and so that I can delete that code. But part of the Code Rush Express, one of the features that they gave us is this expand selection and shrink selection. The shortcuts are Control Alt equals, like if you shifted it, it would be plus, and then Control Alt minus. So if I do this, Control Alt equals, it actually expands the selection by logical blocks, so I can go backwards, and I can grab code very quickly. So we'll just grab this, delete. I don't have to grab the mouse, right? So fantastic. Declare another variable here called data, and this is where I'm going to call my magic method. And we'll pass in the name, and we want to get, for our search type, we want to get the characters. And then we'll return from this method. We'll call xElement. We'll pass in, we'll call parse and pass that in. And we should be just about good. I've got a little utility class in here called Object Dumper that will we'll write the XML to the console window, and we'll do a console read line. Oh, again, Control Dot. Do a console read line just so that it doesn't shut down on me. Now here comes the part where you guys all like the moment of truth to see if the internet works. This is the big demo killer, right? So we'll see how well World of Warcraft is responding right now. Oh, good. Oh, thank goodness. Right. So here's all the XML for all of the characters named Anders, right? So there's a lot of them on. Apparently, guys named Anders are playing on lots of servers, which is cool. But perhaps I don't want to get all the Anders, right? That seems a little ridiculous. So maybe I just want to get the Anders that are, say, of some faction, say of the Alliance or the Horde. Well, let's take a vote. So how many people want me to find, like, the Alliance Anders, the good guys? Those two guys want me to find that. So, and then the rest, the other, like, 900 of you would like me to find the Horde? That works. Okay, so we'll you guys, man, developers. All right. So I'm going to use a link to XML query here to find the Anders that are of the Horde faction. So we'll say from C in our XML, and we'll grab the descendant nodes that have the name character. It's just so I'm not diving through all of the XML. And I'm getting a squiggly already, right? And it's telling me that, hey, you don't have system.link like of it in your namespace declared. So I'll just come up here and fix this real quick. Link. And now our query should work fine. All right. So where the faction attribute value equals Horde, right? You said Horde? Okay. And we'll just select that, and we'll dump that bit now. So there's still a bunch of them, right? And now I've got this XML that's not It's just a bunch of XML. It's not exactly as readable as I'd like. So maybe I can project this data in some type that might be a little easier to see. So we'll use an anonymous type. Right? We're good C# 3.0 citizens. We're using Visual Studio 2008. We like to use new features. So we'll use an anonymous type. And I will put in here, we'll add the name. Like the race. We want to know if it's like, undead or something like that. And the class, we'll say. Okay, and run that. Cool. Not as many as undead as I thought there would be, but plenty of blood elves, and that's good. So we can quickly filter this with linked XML. Now here's the kicker. How many of you guys have written this kind of code, used an anonymous type, and then realized that you really needed to lift this up sometime later? You wanted to come modify this, and you wanted to expose it somewhere in a public API. Has anybody tried to expose an anonymous type in a public API and been like, oh, it's painful, right? And so what happens then, it's very awkward. You either have to use system.object and some hacky little typecast, or what it really comes down to is you need to declare a new type that has the properties of this anonymous type and use that in your public APIs. And that's just really painful to do. Fortunately, DevExpress has given us a refactoring in this tool called name anonymous type. And you see it gives us a little preview hint here to show us what is going to happen. But essentially it's going to create us a new class that has the kind of the semantics of an anonymous type, like the equals and the hash code and all those kinds of things are all set up for us, so we don't have to worry about it. So I just enter it, change the name, and here's our class. I'm going to just kind of collapse that because it's not really necessary. But when I come down here and I see, page down, I see that now we're actually returning a new character data. No longer using the anonymous type. Press F5 just to make sure that it still works, and our internet is still running snappy, so it still works. And now I could use extract method. I could use the Visual Studio extract method and pull this out into another method. So we'll select this code. And here's another excellent feature of the CodeRush Express. Part of the partnership was that, we don't want to give you guys two UIs to actually access Visual C# refactorings, the stuff we have in the box, and then the stuff that comes from CodeRush Express. So the CodeRush Express guys graciously surfaced our refactorings, the Visual C# refactorings, in their smart tags, right? So if I click on here, you'll see that there's an extract method, and it has a great preview hint showing me which parameter is going to go in and what's going to come out. And there's got a little Visual Studio icon to let me know that, hey, it's going to actually invoke Visual Studio's extract method here. Okay, so again, it's just great value add. So we'll call this like get characters. And there we go. You come down here, I see, it's not the best code. I'd really rather, this variable is no longer needed. So I'm going to use inline temporary variable, but I'm going to kind of use a different shortcut this time. I've been using Control Dot just to bring up the regular Visual Studio Smart tag, but there's actually a key that's in CodeRush Express just for invoking refactorings, and that's actually Control backtick or the tilde key. It's usually like on the corners of your keyboard. So you can press that, and it will bring up a menu, another menu showing the refactorings that are available. So I want to use inline temp, and there we go. Sweet. All right, so let's kick back to slides real quick. All right, so the things we saw in there. There's one thing I did not show, and I just have to show it. I'm sorry. It is the snippet designer. We talked about how I made the snippet before. The way that I made the snippet actually, it's kind of cumbersome to make a snippet. And so just last month, released on Codeplex, was this fantastic tool called the Snippet Designer that's available for download. It's just codeplex.com/snippet designer. And it allows you to basically just select some code, right-click, and then export as snippet. And it will bring you into the snippet kind of UI. Now this doesn't have a lot in it right now. If I were to actually open up another snippet here I have the refactoring snippets that we use to generate code in our Visual C# refactorings. Actually, are like the generate method stub that I did earlier from Visual C#. There's actually a snippet that generates that code that you can edit if you want. It's right here. And this is the secret directory. It's Visual Program Files, Visual Studio 9, VC# snippets 1033, which is the locale folder. That's like U.S. English, and refactoring. And here's the method stub snippet. You see in here that has all sorts of fields that that get processed as the snippet comes in. You can come in here and edit this with a snippet designer, and this is just a really great tool for free that you can grab if you want to really dig into code snippets and really play with code generation. Okay? So, all right. So we also saw background squiggles, and that was a 2008 Service Pack 1 feature. So go download Service Pack 1 if you don't have it. It's not just bug fixes. Organized usings I also did not show. So, and it's really quick to show. So back at the top of this file, as I'd been working in this, it had been adding all sorts of namespaces just kind of as we were working on it. And maybe I don't want those in that order. All right, so I can come here, I can right-click. This is in Visual Studio 2008. You can see Organize Usings. We allow you to remove unused usings. So if there's a namespace in here that you're using that actually doesn't have any types in it that you're using throughout your code, it'll actually pull those out, or it'll sort them alphabetically. Okay? Or you can do both. So that's the Organize Usings feature. All right. One other feature I know I didn't show you, but it's a fantastic feature for editing code. And really for grabbing and selecting code. It comes from the CodeRush Express tool. So most people, I'm sure everyone knows that you can use like the arrow keys left and right to move around code, right? And you can hold the control key to move around words, right? So there's a little bit more, a little more complicated. You can use Shift to select, right? Or you can use Control Shift to select by words. So building off of that, the CodeRush Express tool adds two other shortcuts. If you hold the Alt key, it will move between camel casing and identifiers as well. All right? And you can use Shift. See, the one shortcut you guys want. And I can come in here, I could say, just grab that, delete it, rename, and I'm done. Right? So it's really easy to be able to kind of just take code that's already in words and say, I just want to tweak that name a little bit. It's really helpful for that. So, all right. So that was camel case navigation. That's Alt left and Alt right, and also Alt Shift left and Alt Shift right when you want to select. Expand and shrink selection we showed. That was Control Alt equals, Control Alt minus, and I used Control backtick a couple of times for refactorings, but for like name anonymous type. But those are part of the CodeRush Express tool, and like I said, that's a free download. So we're coming to the end here. This is a lunchtime session, so we've only got almost like 5 minutes to go. So just some related sessions that are going on. Go to Anders' session. Anders is speaking in just a little bit, so go check that out. Also, dynamic languages. We have an F# talk, Visual Basic, all sorts of things from Visual Studio languages. Okay? Some resources also for the Visual Studio languages. And then also fill out your evaluations. Are there any questions, guys? Excuse me? The references? What server do I play on? Well, it depends on what you're talking about, right? So sometimes I play on an East Coast server because, it's a little, I want to raid a little later at night, but it doesn't make it as late at night for me being on the West Coast. So I play on Dalaran. So,